I now go to Marla Bultman, Executive Director of Friends. Ms. Bultman?
Thank you. I'm going to switch to good evening now, Madam Chair, honorable members of the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to speak with you today. Excuse me. I've had the pleasure of meeting some of you in advance of this bill's arrival at committee, but for those I have not, my name is again Marla Bultman, and I am the new Executive Director of Friends. We have over 360,000 supporters, Canadian citizens from coast to coast to coast, who stand up proudly for Canadian culture in film and TV, in music, in journalism, really in every space and place we can share our stories at home and abroad. While I am new to the organization, I bring with me both a content production and entertainment law background, which for more than 20 years I have used to help advance the interest of those working in the Canadian cultural industries. The last time my organization appeared before you to talk about Bill C-10, our name was Friends of Canadian Broadcasting. Today, we are more simply called Friends. This is quite fitting because I'm not just here to talk about broadcasting. I'm also here as a friend of Canadian storytelling and Canadian cultural sovereignty, both of which will be affected by the work of this committee when this bill is adopted. I say when because I want to clearly and unequivocally state that while not perfect, we support the adoption of Bill C-11 and believe it can be improved with some minor amendments. One of the bill's imperfections lies in its silence when it comes to addressing the CBC's mandate. We are very disappointed by this, but a conversation about the modernization of our nation's public broadcaster clearly requires more singular attention, something that the government has committed to doing via Bill C-18 and which we welcome. In the meantime, I don't want to use these few minutes to give those who would like to see this legislation stalled any more reasons to pause, to prevaricate, to do nothing. Because if we do nothing, how our stories are told, who gets to tell them, and how Canadian audiences access these stories will all be decisions made by foreign tech giants, billion-dollar companies who have effectively been crashing on our cultural couch for almost a decade, paying nothing towards the structures and systems that allow Canadians to tell their own stories. With the adoption of Bill C-11, we as a country will finally send a long overdue notice to these foreign tech giants that their rent is due. But we cannot stop there. Bill C-11 must prioritize Canadian ownership and control of our broadcasting system, as well as the content created to serve it. If it does not, these companies will not be paying us fair rent for the use of our home. Rather, their contributions may simply amount to a down payment on a broadcasting system which they could potentially own and control. Our proposed amendment to Section 31A, jointly submitted with the Coalition for the Diversity of Cultural Expressions, is meant to address this ownership and control issue. As currently drafted, the language in Section 31A is a massive retreat of Canadian public policy. If we don't support our own media in preference over foreign media, then we are ultimately relegating ourselves to having no Canadian media at all. We need only look to the decimation of the Canadian local news sector for a preview of what is to come if we do not take care of our media institutions. Which is why support for Friends Amendment to Section 11.11, dealing with expenditure requirements, can lay the foundation for a stronger, more viable local broadcast news sector. It would help ensure that the cuts we've seen to local print outlets across Canada do not start coming to local radio and TV, and that broadcasters have the resources to maintain quality local coverage. In closing, I would like to remind this committee that the modernization of the Broadcasting Act isn't just about protecting an industry and jobs. It's what Canadians want. Canadians who have sent a clear message to Ottawa that streaming platforms should contribute to Canadian storytelling and reflect our stories back to us. They think this is fair, and we agree. Thank you for your time and consideration on this incredibly important matter, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bultman.